So basically, this project it's consigns a data set that was gotten from Yahoo Finance, and the data set consists of three major companies in the United States. We have Microsoft, Tesla, and Apple, and it shows their stock values, their stock value percentage change, and also a value called the SP 500, which is basically a stock market index that is used to measure how risky a stock value can be based on the percentage change that occurs in that stock value, and which is basically this changes that we have here. And then so basically my aim was to first of all determine which stock value is that shows a very high tendency of being risky, and then which one is more stable, which stock value is the highest, so the highest amount, and also perform certain statistics descriptions on the data set. And yeah, so that's basically what was done in this project. And then so first off, is talking about the description statistics gotten from the data set. So the very first tab we're looking at or talking about is Microsoft. And yeah, so we can see the mean, standard error, median, standard deviation. I'll probably just explain some of these. So yeah, basically the standard error is just basically indicates how different the population is from the sample. So the lower the standard error, the better the distribution of sample that you have, because it shows a good reflection of the population. Your standard deviation, which is basically just the distribution of the population or your sample variance, which is just shows the variability of your distribution. And yeah, so we also have the kurtosis value as well, which basically just helps determine if there'll be outliers. So the lower the value, the more likely they will not be outliers. And then we have others: skewness, range, minimum marks. Just basic measures of central tendency as well. And yeah, so that was basically the values. From the values already, you can see instantly that Microsoft seems that they have very high stock values. You can see the mean already, which is 194, which is already showing a high indication of how high the values are across across each all data points. We can also see the median value as well, which is just basically the middle value in the distribution, and we can see that that is pretty high as well. Is 203.58, which is the stock value. And also these numbers were shortened, so you can actually see the actual value at the top. So that is the complete value. And then yeah, and then the mode as well, the most frequently occurring stock value in the data set for Microsoft. And yeah, so moving on from there, we looked at the percentiles. So 10 percentile, 25 percentile, which can just basically also refer to as the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And then from there on, we can see that in the 10 percentile, we had a value of 101.28, which just basically shows how high also the data points can be in the data set for Microsoft. And you can also see this value. Basically, it's just giving a summary of what's going on in the data set, so you don't have to always go through the full data set to understand what's going on. This gives you a glance or a picture of what you can actually of what is actually going on in the data set. So from this alone, you can already determine and say that Microsoft indeed has very high stock values. And then on, we check them the frequency. I'm using the histogram chart. See frequency of various value or data points or stock values in the distribution. And then from there on, we can see that um, from data points of 0 to 100, we can see a frequency of 119, which shows that within that range, there's an occurrence of 119 stock values in the data set. And then we can also see that the highest frequency is between the range of 100 to 150, which shows that within that range is 368, which also shows that yeah, this data set is pretty high. They have pretty high stock values. I believe like from this glance alone, I can say okay, it's investing in Microsoft would be a good bargain, But it's too early to say that because you don't know how risky it is yet. But from this glance, you can say that okay, yes, it's probably going to be a good bargain. They have high stock values. Even when you go to the value of 200 to 250, we can see a frequency of 303, which is also very high as well. And yeah, so it's looks promising and also looks stable. Although the distribution is not normally distributed, but we're not really bother about that because this is live data gotten from Yahoo Finance, and it's basically what the data has given us. We have to work with. And so then moving on, we look at Tesla, and immediately from Tesla, you can actually see that mean value of Tesla is actually lower than that of Microsoft, which already says something already that probably Microsoft has higher values, but it's still too early to say. I think we can actually deduce that already, and then we can then look at the median. And I think the median has 96.57, which is pretty low compared to what Microsoft offers here, which is 203. So like I said before, so basically this summary just gives you a full glance of what the data set. It describes the data set already, so you don't have to go through the data set. So already you can already see that it seems like yes, Tesla actually has lower values. You can also look at the standard error. The standard error is higher, so it's not really a true description of the population. And then also when we look at the percentile as well to also help us determine really what's going on within their stock values in Tesla. And you can see at the 10% point data point or stock value point is 17.24, and Microsoft is 101.28, so which is already letting us know that yeah, they are pretty really low values within Tesla. And then to finally just make a full conclusion, we go to the frequency chart, which is the histogram chart, and we can see that first of all, the histogram chart shows the distribution, shows the graphical representation of the distribution, and you can see from the distribution already, Tesla already has a very high value of high frequency of low values. So from 0 to 100, we're having 647, which is already a very good conclusion that we can deduce to indicate that Tesla has more lower stock values than Microsoft, which the frequency is just 119. So from there on, yeah, we can jump to that conclusion, and you can also see the distribution as well. Microsoft has a better normally distributed, because it's not perfectly normal, but it's a better distribution compared to what Tesla is giving us, which looks really skewed. Yeah, so it looks really skewed, and yeah, so it shows presence of outliers already, even if it's not that much. And then also it shows, yeah, it shows a skewed skewed distribution compared to what Microsoft is giving us. And then moving on to Apple as well, and we can see Apple. Yeah, Apple um, has a fairly high mean value, which is a 98, which is obviously better than Tesla. So it just shows that okay, yeah, they probably would have higher stock values than Tesla. Looking at the percentiles as well, you can see at the 10 percentile we have 43.89. The median value is 95.09, which yeah, it's already giving us some basic information of what's really going on, you know, in these values. And then check the histogram as well. And in the histogram charts, we can see that although they have very high values, they still have a considerable amount of low values as well. So from 0 to 100, we have seen a frequency rate of 649, and then from 100 to 150 we have a reasonably high value as well, which is 435. It shows there's a mix of both high and low values, but definitely higher than what Tesla has to offer, but not as high as what Microsoft has to offer, because you can see that the range of 200 to 50 0 0 0, so there's nothing there, so which shows that Microsoft would obviously have higher stock values than what Apple would have to offer. And then yeah, then this is just the final summary, which is just for the SP 500, just to basically understand what's going on within the SP 500. And like I said, the SP 500 is just basically consisting of about 500 companies. The stock values of about 500 companies, including Microsoft, Tesla, and Apple. And yeah, this distribution just basically shows that. But this is not really important in what we are looking out for, because we're really dealing with those three companies that we talked about. But yeah, this just basically gives what is going on within the SP 500 value. And then moving on to the line chart. And then from the line chart, yes, so we can see that. So basically this is just for the year 2023, and this is just for the month of January. And yeah, they all look pretty stable. We can see this is for Microsoft, pretty stable values. There's no much fluctuation. It feels safe to invest in. And then we have the value for Apple, which it looks pretty stable as well. But then looking at Tesla, it's kind of stable, but then you can also notice that there's a significant presence of high and low endpoints. And then towards the end of the month, you can see that it's going really high. So if you are the kind of investor that would want to take a lot of risk, probably looking at Tesla, because you probably, yeah, it's either two things. Either you're going to make a lot of money from Tesla, or you're going to lose a lot of money. And then we can actually get more of that information when we look at the values from previous years. So if we go and check out the value for, let's say, value for 2022, which is last year, and then yes, then we can actually see what is going on here. So now this is for the full whole of 2022, and you can see that, yeah, Apple still maintains a reasonable normal um or or it's kind of consistent. Basically the values are kind of consistent, the stock values are kind of consistent. Obviously not as high as what Microsoft is offering. Sorry, what Microsoft is offering, which is here. And you have to see that Microsoft, yes, it's pretty consistent 2022. There are some highs and lows, but yeah, throughout that year, I mean, it looks pretty consistent, you know, just like Apple as well, but just that Microsoft has higher stock values. But compared to Tesla, so there are points where Tesla is really high. So it seems like the year 2022, Tesla was really doing really good. They had really high stock values, and then all of a sudden they would drop, for whatever reasons. It could be a tweet being made by the CEO, it could be something, and it just drops down and then it increases, goes back up again. I mean, we saw how during the crypto era of Dogecoin, how um, tweets were being made to influence and pump the Dogecoin. So this is just like a similar example. So yeah, there are scenarios where the market can be manipulated, based on people's opinions, and that is basically just feels like what is happening here with Tesla. And then you're seeing it drops down again, pretty low, although the values are still higher than Apple stock values for that year, but it gets to a point towards the end of the year where it drops even lower. And just imagine you invest at a point where the value is this high, and you do not take out your investment, and then you realize that by the end of the year you're having this. That's a lot of loss. That's risky. That's a lot of loss. And further looking at the SP 500 index, market index, will help you determine how much you'll be able to lose, or how much you are going to lose, based on what is going on this graph. And then it just bothers to wonder why this is going on. So first of all, I would also want to look at the year of 2018, when this whole data was put out from, and let's see why Tesla is acting this way and what's really going on. And then so in order to search for that, we can easily just search for the years between, and let me say 01 01 2018. Yeah, now so this is for the year of 2018. Now for the year of 20, no, sorry, this includes 2023 as well. Let me do this one more time. 2018, 2018. Okay, now this is for the year of 2018. Now for the year of 2018, you can actually see that Tesla's stock market values were really low. they're very low. Probably the company just came into inception or was just becoming known, and they just got listed into the stock market. And yeah, so the values were very low. Apple was high, Microsoft has always been high, and always been consistent. And then all of a sudden, in the years of 2019, okay, it's still pretty low. Apple is still higher. Let's check for 2020. Yeah, so now for the year of 2020, towards the end of 2020, they have a stock value higher than even Microsoft. So it just shows the rapid growth of Tesla over the years, but at the same time, it also shows how risky it could be, because it feels like they could not maintain that level of growth. I can remember during that period there was a lot of talks around Tesla, around what they were doing, but it seems like they could not maintain that value, that company value or the stock value that they had, during that period. And that's where you could notice that there's always a sudden drop or high, fluctuations within the company. But imagine investing in Tesla 2018, and by 2020, you're having this kind of value. You have made a lot of profit. So yeah, that's basically just the risk involved with investing in stocks. and and yeah, but if you want to be safe, I would say invest in Microsoft. Like, I would want to invest in Microsoft because it looks very safe and just consistent over time. But yeah, then yeah, it's very high. Then I mean, like, we already checked already, by the year of 2021, 2022, there was a massive drop in Tesla, for whatever reasons. And okay, yeah, 2021 is still very good, it's still okay, it still maintains. Although it dropped around just after that high that it got from 2020, the previous year, and then it started dropping and dropped a little, down, but still higher than Apple. But then all of a sudden, um, in 2022, there was a massive drop for whatever reason that happened. Yeah, which was, yes, this towards the end, and there was a massive drop. So yeah, so it just pretty shows that yeah, Tesla is the riskier, or the more has more risk value attached to it in terms of all the companies. And if you want to be safe, you either invest in Apple or invest in Microsoft. So now let's now compare the values with the SP change. So remember, the SP change is the market index change, and it's the market index change basically helps you determine um how risky an investment can be. A stock value can be based on its change, on its change daily, and you'll be able to use that to measure, to see how much you probably will be making or losing in terms of percentage. I mean, I know the finance guys will understand how to calculate that. And yeah, so you can see, so basically what I did here was to compare and to try and draw a relationship, so the correlation, to check the correlation between each of the change that occurred in you know each of the companies that that's in our case study, and the market index, which is SP 500, which is SP change value. And then you can see that for Microsoft, there's a very strong correlation, and that strong correlation is just an indication that Microsoft is pretty consistent, with their it's pretty consistent with the overall market value, if I could say that. Remember, the SP 500 is consisting of 500 companies, and out of those 500 companies, it gets the you're able to now determine, yeah, you're able to use that to determine the stock value of a stock, in other companies, or companies such as Microsoft. And then if Microsoft and that SP value, which is like a sort of like a constant, that's being used, if there's a strong correlation, it just shows that Microsoft, in whatever way they do, they are able to flow with the market. They're able to flow with the market prices, within the market, and that's why there's such a strong correlation. So if Microsoft has a high stock value, or a high change in their stock value, the SP change also has a high change. If they have a low change, Microsoft has a low change. So you can see that. So I'll say, if you want to invest in Microsoft. Basically, that's that's the full stop of everything I'm trying to talk about. Then now we can look at Tesla, and it's no surprise that Tesla is this way. You can see a lot of times it's just bordered around the zero axis, because there's no correlation here. It's not really correlated. Correlation is pretty low. Just sometimes I try to manage to meet the correlation, and then all of a sudden there's a sudden drop, you know, in opposite directions. The SP value change is pretty, maybe has a high value, but my Tesla is having a low value, and you can just see it's just centered around, you know, a median point centered around the zero value, which, yeah, just shows there's no correlation, not even negatively correlated. It's just there basically. It's just acting on its own, not really moving with the markets. And then we have Apple, and Apple also shows a good correlation as well, but I won't say as strong as Microsoft, but yeah, it looks pretty strong. I would say Microsoft seems stronger, you know even if there's a lot of presence of outliers, around here as well. It seems Apple. Let's check the outliers from Apple. Apple has some, yeah, pretty much has his own outliers as well. But yeah, but most times you can see it shows a very strong consistency around this range, which it feels like they are able to manage a particular stock value. So I would say that Apple is they are able to really manage a certain stock value and just maintain it at that specific level, which is from the graph, from the line chart that we had. We could always see that Apple was always maintaining this sort of range, which is around we could say this like 170, 180, and never really left this range, even with previous years. So let me check, let's go back to 2020. Okay, yeah, so 2020, okay, they had an increase. I think that was when they had the increase from, let's say this should be like 80, and they had an increase of stock value to about 130 thereabout, and they were just able to maintain that stock value. So yeah, so that is basically what Apple has been doing all this while. And yeah, then yeah, but compared to Tesla, which is just it's really all over the place. Yeah, so basically, so this is just how you can actually use Excel to perform first-hand analysis of your data. Nothing too complex, just to get an overview of what the data is going on. Because I mean, looking at these values, you can't really say what is going on here. It just looks like a bunch of numbers. And yeah, but breaking it down, getting the summary, checking out the visualizations, using line graphs. And reason why we're using line graphs, because it's almost like a time series. There are dates involved, so you want to know what's really happening over time. Using scatter plots to find the relationships, it really helps to bring a it really helps to summarize the data, summarize what's going on in the data. So yeah, so that's basically it. So thank you very much.